Kathy Levinson, former Chief Operating Officer and President of E-Trade, is a noted pioneer in the financial industry. As a woman who happens to be lesbian and Jewish, Kathy has opened doors for others like her by challenging unfairness and discrimination.
When I was in third grade, my third grade teacher made me start writing with my right hand because at the time, and I know this will sound strange, it'll just tell you how old I am, but being left-handed seemed weird or different. People thought left-handed people were stupid. All the desks in our classrooms had the arm on the right-hand side, and so you wrote like this, and your writing wasn't as good. When I was 13, my family moved from Kansas to Massachusetts, and when my parents started looking for a house, we were actually told not to look in the town in which we were looking. What I understood after the fact was that they didn't want Jews to move into this town. So for a period of time, being left-handed was not as good as being right-handed, and being Jewish was not as good as being not Jewish. As I got older and I got involved in financial services, what I saw was walls were put up saying, well, this really isn't for you. I think it gave me that much more energy to continue to push as I experienced discrimination. And then as I moved higher in the ranks of the companies that I was in, that I made sure that I set up policies that would be more welcoming for women or for other people who were others, who weren't part of the majority. I went to the newspaper in the back of the paper section where they had a whole section of jobs. And there was a job opening for a broker's assistant. That started my career in financial services. When I was at this broker's assistant job, I actually got slapped by a man. I mean, I had been discriminated against, but that was really harassment, and I was looking for what I might do next. So I went to work at Charles Schwab, and I stayed there a long time, and I had a lot of different jobs and a lot of different opportunities, and I learned a lot. I left Schwab with the intent of stopping out of the workforce for a little bit to spend time with my family. And after a couple of months, I got a call from a company called Trade Plus. We negotiated that I would consult for them. And after a year, they asked me if I would be president, and it was after I joined Trade Plus that we actually morphed it into a company that's now known as E-Trade, and we became the first internet trading company. When I was at Schwab, my partner at the time and I found ourselves in the same department, and I got called into the head of the human resources department, and they said, Kathy, you can't work in the same department. And he went over to the employee policy manual that says married couples can't work in the same department. And I said, but we're not married. And I was a little bit calling their bluff because we didn't want to work in the same department, but nonetheless, I needed to make a point. And he said, but you know what the intent of the policy is? The intent is for people in relationship not to be in the same department. So then I flipped over to the health insurance page where it said that married couples got health insurance. And I said, well, then could I assume that people who are in relationship will all get health insurance because that's the intent of the policy. Charles Schwab was one of the first companies to have domestic partners health insurance back in 1987. And it was because I was willing to take a stand but do it in a professional, thoughtful, considered way. My commitment to myself was as I earned more and more money, that I would use the money that I earned to give back to the communities that were important to me so that those organizations that support those communities, like Jewish people and girls and women and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people, that those groups of people could benefit from the wealth that I accumulated just because I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I had the opportunity over the last 2 years to be co-chair of President Obama's LGBT National Finance Committee, so I've spent the last 2 years raising money to help with his re-election campaign. Luckily, that too, we've had a successful outcome, and I'd like to think that I had some small part in it.